Whose Line Is It Anyway, is strangely close to the spirit of A Course in Miracles in one unexpected way. Both expose how seriously the mind clings to made-up roles. The show works because everyone commits completely to nonsense. A random prompt appears. You're a pirate dentist delivering a baby during a tornado. And instantly, the performers build an entire emotional reality around it. That is perception. ACIM would say the ego does something similar. It receives a tiny interpretation and constructs an entire world from it. One thought, they disrespected me. Then suddenly, identity forms, emotional investment forms, conflict forms, defense forms, storyline forms, improvisation. The mind is constantly doing improv theater and then forgetting it helped write the script. One of the deepest ACIM parallels is the famous line from the show, "Everything's made up and the points don't matter." That could almost be an ACIM workbook lesson, not in a nihilistic sense, more in the sense that the ego's scoring system is fundamentally unstable. Status, winning, comparison, being right, being more spiritual, being victimized, being admired. The ego keeps awarding imaginary points, and people suffer trying to protect scoreboards no one can ultimately keep. The comedians on the show succeed because they stay fluid. They don't over-defend identity. They let scenes collapse instantly. They recover quickly. They adapt. That resembles what ACM calls defenselessness, not passivity, psychological flexibility. A rigid performer dies in improv. A rigid identity also suffers spiritually. Notice, too, the funniest moments often happen when someone stops trying to control the scene. That is important. The ego wants mastery through control. Improvisation requires trust and spontaneity. ACM repeatedly points toward this movement, from self-conscious management to present openness. In the show, if someone clings to, "I must look smart," the scene tightens. The same happens psychologically. Self-image maintenance blocks flow. There's also something deeply healing about shared play. On Whose Line, failure becomes comedy instead of catastrophe. Someone forgets a line. A scene collapses. Everyone laughs and reincorporates it creatively. ACM reframes mistakes similarly through forgiveness. Not sin-deserving punishment, but misperception available for reinterpretation. That changes the emotional atmosphere of living. Another strong parallel, the performers are given identities temporarily. Then they release them immediately. 1 minute cowboy, next minute alien dentist, next opera singer. No identity is held too tightly. ACIM would say suffering increases when temporary roles are mistaken for the self. Body identity, profession, relationship role, spiritual persona, political identity, wounded self-image. The Course does not say roles cannot appear. It questions the attachment to them as ultimate truth. Ryan, Colin, Wayne, and the others often display something spiritually interesting. They support the scene rather than trying to dominate it. Good improv is relational listening. ACM calls this joining. The ego says, "How do I win the scene?" Love asks, "What serves the whole interaction?" Even humor itself has ACM qualities when it is not cruel. Real humor interrupts perceptual rigidity. It loosens fixation. It reveals absurdity without hatred. That is why laughter can briefly collapse ego seriousness. Not all comedy does this, of course. Some humor reinforces attack, superiority, humiliation, and cynicism. But improvisational play at its best exposes how fluid identity actually is. And maybe one of the most ACM-like moments in the show is when everyone breaks character because the scene becomes too ridiculous to maintain. That resembles awakening a little. The mind suddenly sees, I was emotionally committed to something completely invented. Then laughter arrives. Not because nothing mattered, but because reality was never as imprisoned as thought claimed.